Hello everybody, it's Scott Hansen from the riffle.blogspot.com. I'm here to do another fly focus video for you today. Fly I'm doing today is a mini Madam X. Madam X is a very good dry fly, tractor dry fly you can use. Usually they're tied in size 10s or 8s or 12s. I tie them a little bit smaller than that, 14s and sometimes even 16s. This is a 14 in the vise right now. It's very simple fly, deer hair and rubber leg, or I like to use flexi floss on the smaller ones. I don't know why, but I think flexi floss wiggles a little bit better maybe on when it's on the water. So this is the size 14 in a tan color. I'm going to tie one in a red color for you here. Get this finished fly out of the vise. Put a size 14 dry fly hook in the vise here. And let's get started. I'm going to use red thread for this, and I like to start it, I like to do a little visual key when I start my thread, so I like to start it about a third of the way back from the eye. That's where I'm going to do my bullet head for the second application of deer hair. So I'll just put a little base of, this is 8/0 unithread, I should have mentioned that, in red color. Just put a base of thread down there on the back 2/3 of the hook, and then I'm going to tie my tail in. The tail is just a small clump of deer hair. I've got some mule deer hair here that I'm going to use. Actually I had this stacked and evened, and when I picked it up I kind of lost it there, so that's not a big deal. Just try to straighten those out a little bit here, and I just want those to be, I'm going to have the tips be the tail, and I want them to be 2/3 of the length of the hook shank or so. So I'll just hold them there, kind of measure it, eyeball it with my fingers, and trim off the butt ends. So I've got a nice square end to start with here, and I just start my thread, just kind of grab that butt end of the hair, tie it in nice and tight right there, and then I'm just going to hold on to the tips as I kind of loosely work my thread back to the back of the hook. I don't want it to flare too much, that's why I do kind of loose wraps there. And then I can cover that up with some thread. You can either just leave a thread body on this fly, which is what I'm going to do today, or you could put some dubbing in there if you wanted to. I think dubbing can help it flow a little bit better, but you don't need it. So I've got my tail covered up here, tied in nicely. I'm just going to bring my thread up to right behind the eye, and I've got another larger clump of deer hair here in my evener. I'm going to pull that out and get all the fuzzy stuff out, which I thought I had already. Get that out of there. And I'm just going to eyeball that. I'm just going to kind of hold it on top of the hook shank here. I want it to be a little bit longer than the hook shank once I put it in position, so I'm just going to eyeball it there. Move it into position up here so that it's sticking straight out over the eye of the hook. I'm going to hold on to it nice and tight. Take one wrap right around it right there and right behind the eye, and I'm going to hold on to those butts. And alright, so I got my front clump of deer hair tied in, and it's just kind of flared out here over the front of the hook, and I've got it tied in nice and tight back here, and I've trimmed off the butts. I'm just going to cover those butts up with some thread so that you can't see them very well, and just kind of fill in that front part of the fly. Now I've got my thread hanging back at the 1/3 point or so, and I'm going to bring, I'm just going to kind of get this whole clump of deer hair and bring it back over the hook shank, and just kind of flatten it out with my fingers there. And I just take my thread and make a nice tight wrap there at about the 1/3 point. Makes a nice little bullet head, and the hair flares out there like a nice bushy wing. Now all we have left to do is put on our rubber legs. Like I said, I'm going to use red flexi floss on these small flies. So just like any fly that you have crisscross rubber legs on, I'm just going to hold the first set, or the first leg, on the far side of the hook, and I'm going to tie it in right where my thread wraps are there. There we go. Get a couple of wraps on there, and then you can just kind of slide it into position on the side of the fly. Couple more nice tight wraps, and then I'm going to do the same on my side of the hook. I've got another flexi floss leg here. I'm just going to slide that down into position after I get it on. A couple wraps. There we go. Those look pretty good. Get that one up a little bit. Okay, so now I've got just rubber legs, or flexi floss legs, on both sides of the body. Got those in nice and tight. I'm just going to bring my thread up underneath the bullet head so it's right in front there, and do a couple of wraps, and then I'm going to finish this fly off with whip finish. Trim my thread. I'm going to trim these legs to length. They're a little long right now, so I'm going to take the front two, pull them straight up together, and just trim them off so they're 3/4 of an inch or so. And then I'll take the back ones, pull those up together, and I want those to be a little bit longer than the front legs. So I'll just grab those, trim them off to length. And my mini Madam X is done. You can tie these in whatever color scheme you want. You can, I use tan legs, red legs, white legs. If you want to use rubber legs, you can use barred colors or chartreuse or whatever color you want. Like I said, you could put dubbing under there, under the body if you want to. It's not really necessary. So this is a great fly for bluegills, good fly for trout. You can use it during caddis hatches to kind of makes your fly stand out a little bit from the actual flies, and I think you'll have good luck with it. Hope you like this tutorial. I will see you next time. Thanks.